Hey friends, Daily Dub, Tuesday edition. It's 3 degrees here in Maine and up to 18 inches of snow today. So the Dub Life episode, which is episode 18, I think is what I'm in the middle of filming. It's close to an hour and a half long. We ended that video yesterday because the next 2 days we're going to be in some blizzard potentially, and I don't want to die filming some foolishness. So we're just going to deal with the snow and go in and out of work and hotels. So, rub it. Anyway, 2 things to talk about today, or, kind of 2 questions. First from Jerry M. What is a TV show or game that I'd like to see a toy line from, and who would be the manufacturer? I'm assuming Jerry doesn't mean that's never had a product, because I think pretty much everything has had something. But maybe something that's not had widespread. And then from Andy, was I into D&D or other RPG or tabletop games as a kid? And was I into arcade games as a kid? And what were some of my favorites? So those are 2 good questions. Let's first talk about something that I'd like to see a property from and who to make it. So it's easy for me. It is Lost, the television show, my favorite television show of all time. To my knowledge, there are only the Jacks. I think Jacks makes them. No, actually, maybe McFarlane. They're basically statues. They have very, very limited articulation, and they came with like a diorama piece, and I think they only made like 12 of the characters or something like that. It's maybe like a season 1 and a season 2. I have a few. I think I may have 3. I think I have Jack, Kate, and Hurley. That's all I have. But for instance, like Hurley is on like a piece of the island with his the golf flag, and the golf hole, and that's kind of his scene. They also come with a prop replica. Like I think Jack comes with the toy plane, maybe. Kate comes with her letter, and they look good. I mean, they're old. I pick them up whenever I see them at a show for like under $20. I'm not gonna pay much for them. They don't really climb, but sometimes people think they're worth more than they are. But they're just not great, and they take up more space than I'd like them to. Kind of think of them like Marvel Selects, especially the older Marvel Selects before they got better at the articulation like they have recently, and they have the huge diorama piece. They take up all the space for something that's not worth taking up all that space. That's the only line I'm familiar with from Lost. What I want is... I want 3-0 to get a Lost license. I want a 6-scale set of Lost characters. And it would be great if Hot Toys got it, but I don't think that's a license they pursue. But it seems like it could be something that 3-0 pursues. They do Walking Dead, they do Game of Thrones, they do Breaking Bad. Or even Star Ace, who does Harry Potter stuff and like 300 and things like that. So... that's what I want. I would love a set of really nice 6-scale Lost figures. I'd buy all of them. All of them. Everyone they make, I would buy. So, that's the answer to that question. Now, the other question in terms of tabletop games, RPG games, arcades as a child. So, as a child, I did not get into D&D. Very, very limited tabletop games. In that age, I was playing with friends outside a lot, and I played a lot of sports, did a lot of sports. And then once you start playing football competitively, it kind of takes over your life. So there wasn't a lot of time for stuff like that, and my friend set was different than it would be now back then, and we just weren't doing a lot of that kind of thing. I think here and there, like I played Rage, the collectible card game in like middle school. I had some friends that played that. I actually played that in a tournament one time in like 8th or 9th grade. I dabbled in Magic a little bit, but not really. I don't think I ever owned anything. But then there was a Middle Earth collectible card game that my older sister Kimberly and I loved the art and tried to play, but it required a bunch of people, I think. We never had enough people to play. So those are 2 things I do remember playing. Later in life, I've played through some D&D campaigns. I've got a bunch of friends that play D&D. It's just D&D requires you to be home and on a consistent schedule so that you can play a campaign, and that's not me. But we do have gaming nights, gaming parties, a lot, actually, quite frequently at different people's house. I don't think I've ever shown you one of those, but we do them. I host them. And invite a bunch of people over all over the city that like to play gaming and all kinds of things. So, like Pandemic, we like to play tabletop. We play Munchkin. Of course, Cards Against Humanity always gets played. That's kind of a different thing. I'm trying to think. We just try all kinds of different stuff. Power Grid is a game I really like. We play Catan, of course. Ticket to Ride. You know, a lot of those traditional, really good gaming setups that we play. It probably happens 4 or 6 times a year. Maybe a little bit more than that, but not too much. And it happens times I'm not able to make it. So that's for tabletop games. Again, I do like it. Just don't have enough time to do it. Arcades. Definitely played arcades as a kid. 100% favorite thing, the Ninja Turtles arcade game. Whichever one. Turtles in Time, Super Nintendo. But the thing that's based off of. That game, I played to death at the putt-putt. Over and over and over again. My friends and I, we loved those. Like 3 or 4 people could play. So like Simpsons and like the X-Men game that was like that. Where everybody could stand around the cabinet and play. Played a lot of that. I would love, just on this episode of Dub Life that I just finished filming, we saw a almost pristine Turtles cabinet in one of the stores we went to. It was very expensive. But I'd love to own that. If whatever Arcade 1UP made a TMNT arcade game, I think we'd all buy it. So I love that game. The Simpsons game was also great. I'd buy that. Played a lot of Mortal Kombat 2. Played some Mortal Kombat 1, but a lot of Mortal Kombat 2 in the arcade. I guess that was just the sweet spot from when. So we had Putt Putt, which is a mini golf place. I'm not sure if that's a regional chain or a bigger chain. It might just be in where I grew up. I don't know. But they would have Super Saturday, I think is what it was called. And your parents could drop you off on Saturday for a few hours, $10. And you got to play unlimited golf for 4 hours, and you got 100 tokens and unlimited batting cage and all this stuff. And so that would happen, once a month or something. It would not happen every Saturday by far. Typically, I think I had to earn the money by cutting grass all month or something. So we just play a lot of that. And then there were some other things like the Mad Dog McCree, I think it was, where you shot the gun at like the live action game. That was a fun arcade that we played a lot. But then as you get further, like into Killer Instinct and Cruising USA and some of that stuff, I didn't go to arcades as much anymore. And then even before that, like in the days of Pac-Man and Asteroids and things like that, didn't go to the arcades much. So it's right in that window is where we were going a lot. So hopefully that answers your question. I got to get ready for work. I hope you all have a wonderful Tuesday. If it's going to be cold like it is here where you are, stay warm, stay out of the snow. And I'll talk to you tomorrow. Squeeze it.